My name's Anna, and welcome to my channel called Autism Abroad. I have high functioning autism, and I like to travel a lot. So I decided to make a channel about my experiences and traveling with autism. I've been many places in the US and the world, particularly Europe, and I've had lots of challenges being autistic and traveling, but there are also some positives, and I want to share that on my channel. I also want to share the struggles and the meltdowns that happen too. I've already been lots of places in the US, and I've been to Europe once before. I actually have a future trip coming up in August, which I'm really excited for, but I'm also nervous for. There's lots of things that go into traveling. I also want to share some of the tricks and tips that might help other autistics with traveling, because traveling is very stressful. Change in general is very stressful. I have particular routines, and when those routines get interrupted, I get extremely upset. Like, I have my morning routine. I eat the same thing for breakfast every day. I have my shower routine. I have my work routine, my getting ready to go to bed routine. My whole day is routines, and with traveling, you don't always have that. There's spontaneous activities and different places you want to see, and you can't always plan out your entire day because things do happen. So that's one thing about traveling that can be stressful for someone who's autistic, is change and not having a structure. However, many autistics actually have obsessions, and one of my obsessions is research. And I really like to research anything and everything. I love researching where I'm going, about the city, the places that are in the city that I want to see. And knowing a lot of that beforehand helps a little bit, but it's not a specific schedule. So I like to do a little research. That's my cat now. Anyways, I focus on the places I want to see and learn about them so I can experience what I've read, and that helps a little bit understanding. But by understanding the places I'm going, it's less of a shock to me. Like, I know the price of how much it's going to cost me to get in to see this place that I've looked at. I know how long it might take me to see the place. Most places give you a general idea of how long people spend there. So, like, I kind of plan, oh, I'm going to spend 2 hours here, I'm going to spend an hour and a half here, and that helps kind of create a schedule so it's a little less chaotic, which helps take some of the stress off and the panic of, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel upset, I'm scared, I don't know the language, I can't communicate for help even if I wanted to, and it's just very scary not knowing. So by kind of making a little itinerary for the day, it really helps, and kind of being more prepared. So for me, that really helps, but I don't know if it'll help others. Or if your child's autistic, maybe if you guys are traveling somewhere, kind of tell them what we're doing, how long we're going to be there, and kind of help talk them through, tell them it's okay if you get upset, because a lot of autistics, I should say, I feel embarrassed when I have a meltdown, especially in public places, and it's not fun. It's very embarrassing to me because I'm 25 years old. I should know that it's not okay, but I can't help it. Sometimes I have shutdowns where I go like completely silent. I can't look at anyone. I can't speak. I can't talk to anyone. And it's hard for people to understand, especially if you're traveling and you're scared and you're lost and you don't know what you're doing. You can have a meltdown right there and people won't understand. And for me, that is the scariest feeling, not knowing what you're doing, and you get so overwhelmed. All of your senses are on overload. People around you are loud and you can't shut them out. You're being bumped into if you're in a crowded place. Like, I'm very sensitive to touch. I don't like being touched, hugged. I don't like people like my mom when I was younger. She'd run her fingers through my hair and play with my hair. I didn't like that. It bothered me. Um, Seeing things, there's different lights. Like if it's at night, there's lots of different street sign colors and street lights and store signs, and it can be very overwhelming, especially if you're already scared and you don't know what you're doing. I can't describe it. It's maybe you'll see it in one of my future videos, a meltdown. But it's just very overwhelming, and planning out things can be very helpful. And I know every place I've traveled, we've kind of had a set itinerary, except when I travel with my family, they're more spontaneous, and they'd always ask why I'm so quiet. Well, they didn't understand that. For me, not sticking to what we had planned may, like, just kind of stress me out, and to the point where I just shut down. And it's very hard. You actually have to allow yourself a little bit of recovery time when you shut down or have a meltdown, and sometimes you don't have that time when you're traveling. You are going different places and you just don't have the time, and that can be very hard. I guess since this is an intro video, I should probably tell you a little about myself. I am from the United States, specifically the state of Wisconsin, home of the Badgers, and I live in a very rural community. My parents have known since I am autistic since I was very little, and being in such a rural area, it's not a common thing at first. Now it is, because there's like Autism Speaks that help promote and raise autism awareness, and I think that's really great. But back when I was younger, it wasn't a really big thing, especially for girls. And so my parents actually kept it hidden. They didn't tell me I was autistic until I was about in middle school, and I still didn't get the help because they didn't want the stigma of that following me. So I didn't get help in elementary school, middle school, high school. I didn't get any help in college either. I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees from the University of Wisconsin-Platteville, one in forensic investigation and the other in biology, which I'm very proud of, even though I don't even work in either of those fields. I actually work in a manufacturing plant in my hometown. So it's just crazy to think about, but I actually really love my job, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I feel comfortable with my coworkers, and when I actually started there, I was so nervous. I actually was shaking most of the time. My first 3 months there, I was physically shaking because I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the probationary period. If I screw up, I'm fired. But I didn't get fired, and I actually work in a different position at the same company, and I love this one a lot more, this position a lot more. I have a complete routine. I know what I'm doing the minute I get into work. I know what I'm doing the whole day. I know when I'm going to take my break. If I need help, I feel comfortable enough to ask one of my coworkers, even though it does take a little practice. I actually practice what I'm going to ask them before I ask them, just to help boost my confidence a little bit, because that's a real struggle for me, is communication. I have a very hard time asking people. If I go to a restaurant, I order the same thing. It doesn't matter where I am, what country, what state. If it's a McDonald's, I'm still going to order the same thing. It's ingrained in my head, and so I don't change it. If I go to Culver's, I still order a double bacon cheeseburger, no mayo and no onions. and I always get a root beer at a fast food place. I don't really expand beyond that just because I know what root beer is going to taste like. And anyways, I have specific things that I stick to. And so like even at work, like I have a routine, I know what I'm doing, and it helps me relax at work. My days off, on the hand, are another story. I don't have a schedule particularly. Usually my mom wants to go do something because I'm home and she doesn't get to see me because I've been working a lot of overtime for my trips. And so she doesn't see me a lot. So on my days off, she wants to do stuff, and that's really hard on night shift because then I have to switch up my entire day and my entire routine, how I'm functioning that day, and that can be very hard for me, especially switching my sleeping patterns since I already have a hard time sleeping anyways. But anyways, I have some pets. They are very helpful when I'm really upset and I just need something to like pet, like my cat. I have 2 cats. I have Belle, which you saw in the video, and then I have Shadow. She's my little black cat. I love her. And then I have my 2 gerbils, which aren't cuddly, but I love them. They mean the world to me. And hopefully my mom can take care of them when I'm gone. But I love them so much, and that's a little bit about me. If there's something else you want to know about me, feel free to leave a comment, and I will either reply to your comments or add it in a future video. I hope you found my video interesting and a little informative. I'm looking forward to sharing all of my future experiences with you all, and I can't wait to travel and share everything. Take care.